Today I'm going to talk about the absurdity of life. It's all a bit strange. I'm going to start this episode with a quote from Jim Carrey. What fascinates me is that hardly anyone is wondering what we're actually doing on this planet. Most accept the work, eat, entertainment, sleep cycle as life and have no desire for a deeper understanding of our purpose in this universe. Hi there, my name is Nathan, and this is another episode of The Human Experience. Now, we're born into a time that we have no prior knowledge of. We come into existence and we have a family that we know nothing about. We're born into a system that we don't fully understand. At the end of the day, all we know is that we're here and we're existing. And even that is a bit fuzzy, you know what I mean? We might not be as parallel universes and different kinds of, scenarios we could be in, a fake reality. We could be plugged in. So yeah, as you become older, you realize that no one has a clue. And then in my case, I have become older. I'm nearly 40. And then I realized that I don't have a clue. And there's almost like this unspoken thing that is going on, that we all know that we don't know what's going on. But whether you speak to a teacher, your friends, your family, your parents, no one really acknowledges the fact that we're living in this kind of pretense of like, oh yeah, it's fine, just go get an education, go get a job, do a bit of traveling in between, take a gap year, and it'll be fine. And then you'll repeat the cycle. You'll have your own family necessarily, and then it will just go on and on and on. Is what we're doing normal? And that's often what I thought. And I was the type of kid, like when I was really young, I had a really big imagination. And I don't want to say that, I'm sad to say necessarily, but that has definitely waned away over the years. Reality hits you, yeah. Society's kind of idea of what you should be doing, the expectations and stuff like that. So obviously for me, I was happy to play. I played a lot with like kind of toy figures and cars and that kind of thing. And I remember specifically like being in infant school and leading one or two of my friends around the playground and really thinking that we was in this kind of, just to describe it, this kind of Narnia kind of world, or even this kind of, if you've ever seen the film Labyrinth, that really like sparked my imagination. So, you've got goblins and things like imaginary creatures. I even think of the film like Gremlins. They really made my imagination like really blossom, I guess, and give me this kind of different ideas of what life is. I was born in 1985. Shout out all the 80s babies. And we've lived through a really dramatic time of change, especially when it comes to technology. The things we've seen on the big screens like Star Wars and Star Trek and ET and stuff like that, to then actually be living in a kind of this metaverse or whatever it is, like with the advent of the World Wide Web. That's what I think a little bit of the imagination has gone, because it's kind of put in front of you, people's ideas. These directors and these script writers have kind of come together to write their kind of version of what an alternative reality could be like. So yeah, like I say, you're kind of thrust into this existence anyway. And you're learning things through observation. Later on, you learn to communicate, and you have no idea if you have been here before. None of us really know. There's that thing of past lives, which I am a little bit skeptical of, if I'm honest, because they tend to be, from what I hear, a very limited understanding of it, but like, you were this emperor, you were this prince, you were this general, this, I don't know, some kind of leader generally. You had an important role in history, you were this captain of a ship or whatever it is. I don't know. I just feel that a lot of them were just peasants and nomads and shepherds. So like, is that true of the past life as well? So yeah, I'm not sure about that, But also beyond thinking of past lives, because there's like human history and Earth's history, I think, okay, if that has played out and the Earth has not been here forever, then we know humans have not been here forever. What was before that? You know, you go back to this concept of the Big Bang. And again, even as a kid, as an adult, it doesn't always make sense. Like, is this a constant kind of Big Bang expanding, contracting on itself, you know, going into this implosion and then back into a Big Bang? What is going on? Is this a infinite cycle? And no one can really tell you, right? You look to expert scientists and researchers and people that do astronomy, and none of them have the answer, which none of them really should, because they're just the same as you and me. They're just born into this place not knowing what they've come into, really. It's really surreal, yeah. Then you go on to watch things as I got older, like Alien, where you actually realize, wow, if there is life out there, it might not be that nice. And that throws like kind of ET on its head, that they're a nice little alien that's going to come and land. And also things like The Matrix, you know, that really threw a lot of people's kind of understanding of where we're at on its head. Even the Truman Show, you know, thinking that you're within this fake reality, and like, you know, generations and generations of families coming into existence and going again. But it's really like, it feels like it's so unbelievable that we're on this rock, on this planet, in this universe, that we have no idea where it is. And what constantly comes to me, the idea that pops into my head to help me understand it a little bit, is that I imagine that maybe this universe is inside another room, and that we are just almost like a snow globe kind of situation, that we're just this snow globe in this bigger room and there's other things going on, and it might be totally different to what we're used to. Like, it might just be some kind of energy force going on. You know, I think of the lightning bolts that are going on. Maybe there's just this big storm of energy going on outside of the snow globe that is our universe. Who knows? And that, yeah, maybe we do pass into that place at some point, or maybe we don't, or maybe, like I say, it just collapses on itself and starts again, which is quite fascinating. As well as tackling where you are and what's going on, there's also the enigma of consciousness. You know, to me, it sometimes feels like, is it that the brain is the hardware, and then thought, the mind, is like the software, and we're just running this system through, you know, the senses and experience this reality? But again, we know that our senses are not 100% correct always, and that other things perceive things differently, like ultraviolet light or thermal imaging. Like, we know things can be seen in a different way. Some creatures live under the sea. You know, I think of sometimes the fact that we have these inventions, that we've explored space, you know, with spacecrafts, and ultimately that life has maybe started in this kind of primordial swamp, then just started to come out and out into the world. Do you know what I mean? But for us to even step onto land, if that was the case, as another kind of life form, we needed that step. That was probably bigger than making the rocket, because I don't see dolphins or killer whales or any other creature, even octopuses, that are, you know, supposedly have this level of intelligence, ever advancing to that. Not because they can't, but because they're just not in the right environment. You know, being submerged underwater, do they even look at the stars half the time? You know what I mean? I know they come to the surface, so possibly they do. But it's like a detachment to be on the land, then you can see into space and possibly travel, and that's what we seek to do more and more. But yeah, like I say, with that consciousness comes the fact that we have this vessel, as they say, the body, and that, to me, another kind of parallel I see is like that this is a biological machine, yeah? And sometimes when you watch a film like The Terminator, and again, like I say, films just give me these kind of ideas, these paths that I go down of thought, trains of thought, that we're not that different from the Terminator, yeah? We're like a T something, because at the end of the day, we're running off of electricity as well. You know, our heart is beating by electrical impulses, and all the senses that we have are, again, the nerves are working through electrical signals going to the brain. I think that that's not that far from being a robot, right? We're just a biological version. Rather than being made out of a metal skeleton, we have bone. And, you know, rather than having a hardened surface, we have the skin, and we have these organs that are working together. So we're even more complex, but we're basically doing the same thing. You know, all this structure, this whole vessel is there to support the mind. The senses are there to let this mind know where it is. And that's basically for, in a basic level, it's for survival. You know, the quicker we can spot something, hear something, smell something, the quicker we can get away from danger. And the processing speed, from what I understand, has just improved and improved until we got to this level for us, for our brain to expand to that level. But we're still not at full capacity, which is another kind of, you know, thought of where could we get to. And maybe our understanding is limited. You know, I think of like a scientist, like a rocket scientist, trying to explain to a squirrel the science behind takeoff. And it's like, maybe we are that squirrel when it comes to the universe trying to explain to us existence. And it does in certain ways. It's out there, the clues are out there. If you think of it, scientists to me are just like these detectives that are at the scene, as in the planet, the universe, you know, and beyond. And they're looking at the scene for clues of how things started. So, you know, they think of how life started. So we use microscopes to look at simple organisms and figure out how they evolved over time. You know, we can now go into looking into genes as well and see our own kind of history and where we've kind of come from in the branch of, you know, life, basically. You know, moving ahead, what do we do? And I know a lot of what I've said, it sounds really kind of daunting, but it's also kind of exciting that this place that we're in, we haven't quite figured it out yet. We don't know what's going on. And I think of this like when you're watching a box set or a movie and you enjoy maybe the first part of it and the middle, and like then you get to the end and you're like, oh, why did it end like that? And it's like, maybe that's what we want for this existence. Like, we just want to keep delving into it, and we don't really want to know the reality of how it ends or what happens or how it came to be, because that might ruin it in some way for us. And it might not give us any more answers, or it might give us, you know, more confusion, or maybe some kind of hurt that, oh, is this it? Maybe this not knowing and the absurdity of life, it gives us this kind of freedom. And the reason I say it gives us a freedom is because it kind of allows us to move in any direction which we want now. We've got to this era that I see it as, you know, I think it's been called the information age, but I also think of it as like the convenience age and like the highest standard of living. But we know that's not the case for everyone. So maybe once we tackle certain issues within the world of poverty and crime and inequalities and stuff like that, once we get on top of that even more, because I think we're on that path, we are trying. When we can get world peace, we can just focus on more of the creative pursuits, you know, of being more mindful, of creating beautiful kind of communities and continuing with this kind of wonder, fascination, this curiosity. You know, when it comes to a religious kind of perspective, we sometimes look to God in prayer for help. But what I feel is with this freedom to do anything, we can do good or we can do bad. It's up to us. So yeah, I think there's a lot of things for us to tackle, but we can definitely, in my eyes, it comes back to being, I think the dog agrees, the best planet in the universe. So yeah, I'm excited to see what direction we go, and the freedom that we have now to go in any direction means that there are no rules as such. We can choose to go towards peace and harmony or towards self-destruction, whatever. There's no kind of thing that we're bound to. We can go in any direction we choose, and I think that's a wonderful thing. This quote by Rumi really sums up what I've been trying to say in this episode, and it goes like this: This place is a dream. Only a sleeper considers it real. Then death comes like dawn, and you wake up laughing at what you thought was your grief. So yeah, that's all I've got time for on the human experience now. And I'd love to see some comments about things that you found so absurd growing up. Like you just couldn't wrap your head around, like, why is this the way it is? You know, it's the type of question you might ask your parent, like, why do we do this? And obviously it's going to be from different cultures, different backgrounds, different things, but ultimately I think there'll be some similarities as well, because we're all trying to tackle the how we got here, why we're here, and where we're going. So yeah, thank you for your time, guys, and see you next time on The Human Experience.